Welcome to the turbocharged country rock of Jenny Don't and The Spurs. We found the Portland, Oregon-based band somewhere in Australia as they make their way to Auckland for a series of shows later this month. So please, folks, introduce yourselves.
Jenny Don't, and this is Kelly Halliburton, and we're half of Jenny Don't and the Spurs from Portland, Oregon.
This is Jenny Don't and a Spur.
Yeah.
And you're from Portland, but you're not in Portland today. Where are you?
No, we're outside of.
We're in Castlemaine.
We're just outside of Castlemaine, Australia.
Cool.
Which is inland from Melbourne by about an hour and a half or so. We're on tour down here, and we played in Melbourne last night. And we drove after the show because we have a day off today, but it's not really a day off because we're recording here in this studio, which is a beautiful. It's like a farmhouse or something, like a cottage, converted barn. Just an amazing space here.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, are you recording an album, some singles? Just what kind of stuff?
Just a single. We don't have a lot of time. We've got like one day, and like maybe some mixing and overdubs tomorrow. So we don't have time to do like anything substantial. We're just kind of taking advantage of the opportunity and being down here to just lay down some tracks. And we're going to do probably a 7-inch from this.
Cool. Hey, that's all right. Excellent.
Yeah.
And how did the gig go last night?
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, it was sweaty mayhem. It was packed full, and yeah, it was a blast.
That's what I expected from a Monday night.
Yeah.
And it's like we've never been down here before as this band. So we didn't know what to expect, We just assumed no one knows who we are, but evidently some kind of word got out, and the place was packed. And we have 2 more Melbourne shows before this is all over, and I hope they're as good as well.
Yeah, I mean, a Monday night, and you're doing all right. Jeez.
Yeah. Every show so far, it's just been great.
Yeah.
Cool. So for folks who haven't heard you or seen you, well, how would you describe the experience, the Jenny Don'ts and the Spurs? Obviously, with Spurs in the name, there's got to be some country in there, right?
Yeah, we're kind of like garage Western. People have been having a hard time really pinning it down because it's kind of, we can play more traditional style. We can play more rock. Somebody said on this tour that it's turbo country.
I like that.
Yeah.
I know. It's a great descriptor, and it never occurred to us. But someone in Sydney the other night was like, "Hey, guys, like turbo country." And it was like, that's great.
Yeah.
We're going to steal that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just in Nashville for the first time ever for the Americana Fest a couple of weeks ago. And
oh, nice.
It was amazing because all sorts of music is now kind of grouped under country or Americana or whatever it is. There were English bands and, bands from all over the place, Australian bands. So it feels like people are just more open to whatever it is you're doing. You don't have to call it anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what got you into the sound head? Because you guys were formed in like 2012. So at that time, there wasn't really that big of a scene for this kind of stuff. What sent you in that direction?
Well, it doesn't, it's never, for us, it's never dependent on what, like, any scene, because we don't have a lot of interest in, sort of contemporary country music. It's always, our scene kind of had its peak 60 years ago, before any of us were born. And
not me.
So we kind of like take a lot of our inspiration from the sort of the 50s and 60s, Bakersfield stuff, the Star Days, and it was just we'd been playing other styles of music. We'd been playing kind of punk and garage stuff.
And I was playing first solo or as a duo with our previous drummer, just for fun, would make a couple bucks at a bar patio or something, playing acoustic.
Right.
And then Kelly and I, wanted to have a band that we could play together because both of our bands were touring separately. And so we were like, well, when we're home from tour, that'd be fun to be able to do a band together.
Yep.
And then just kind of picked up steam.
Yeah, we just decided, stylistically, this was a cool genre to, it's just fun, and we've always enjoyed this style of music, so we thought we'd try our hand at playing it.
Very good. Now you made a reference to your drummer. Sadly, your original drummer is no longer with us, and you've got a new guy, Dean, I believe, who's playing with you now.
Yeah.
So not to,
Oh yeah.
make a big deal about it because I don't want anybody feeling bad. But what kind of stuff have you kind of gone through this year with getting sorted out with that?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It was a real blow. I mean, in addition to being our drummer, Sam was just, he's a family member. He was, our relationship long predates the existence of this band. So he was one of our best friends and an amazing person.
And it was just really unexpected. Like, we were on tour and he started not feeling good. And, we took him to the hospital. We canceled one of our tour dates. And you would expect when someone's in the hospital, when they come out, they're a little better than they were before and that just wasn't the case, unfortunately.
Man.
And so, then we all had the harsh reality of what was to come shortly thereafter. And so, during all of that, we kind of obviously put everything on hold, weren't really planning, but we had already been booked out really far because we're always touring and we're always looking ahead. And so, once the inevitable was really in view, Dean had reached out and said, I don't know what your plan is as a band, but if you'd like to continue, I've learned your set and I'm ready to go.
That's nice.
Yeah, he's like, I want to try and make this as painless as possible for everyone. And he had lost his wife previously in a similar way and just was very sensitive to the situation.
Right. Yeah, and he's been around forever too. He's a longtime Portland drummer. He was so there was a band that formed, I believe, in 1980 called Rancid Bat that he joined that band in like the late 80s, but he played with them for a long time, and he's been in other Portland bands, and he's also been sort of peripherally involved with the Spurs for a long time because he used to make our hats and our stickers and stuff. He's a printer, so he's silkscreened stuff for us back 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah, so Kelly and Christopher and I had a meeting after Sam passed away, just kind of deciding, what was going to be the next move. And we all agreed that it would be really sad if we stopped. And I feel like, Sam dedicated the last, 12 years of his life to the band. So to have it just dissolve would be really unfortunate for all the work that we've all put into it. So we did a weekend in Idaho, a festival that we had booked, and that was the first show with Dean. As just thanks for letting us carry on with these shows, but it worked out really well and we get along. So here we are now in November in Australia together. So
and there you go. Well, what else would you do if you weren't doing this?
Nothing.
Start another band, I guess.
Yeah. Bang our heads against the wall out of boredom.
I mean, this is what we do. I don't really know how to live any other way. I mean, we work when we're at home. We have day jobs still, so I guess
begrudgingly,
Well, there's big money in music, I hear these days, especially making records and stuff.
I've heard that too, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. One of these decades, maybe we'll find a little bit.
Almost like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. So the Great Northwest has a history of pretty cool bands going back to Paul Revere and the Raiders and the Wailers and people like that. So, but not really country oriented sound, or maybe I'm wrong. So how much of the legacy kind of feeds into what you guys do?
Well, I mean, Loretta Lynn did a stint in Washington before she headed east and made it in Nashville.
There you go.
Willie Nelson cut his first single in a garage in Southeast Portland
back
in the 50s. And anyone has passed through.
Right.
So there's a massive, and even, Northwest stalwarts like the Ventures, Noki Edwards was playing with some of the guys in, the Bakersfield guy.
Buck Owens and the Buckaroos.
Yeah, he was playing with Buck Owens' bandmates, and in a country band before he started the Ventures, basically. So there's a ton of unknown homegrown country musicians in the Northwest.
Yeah, there's a guy, Buzz Martin. He's the singing logger.
Yeah, the singing logger. I love it.
Yeah, he sings about having moss grow on his back from the rain and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of other, just tons of, just a vast wealth of sort of underground country stuff that's been coming out of the Northwest since the 40s and probably prior to that. I don't know too much about the really old stuff, but 50s, 60s, 70s.
Well, it sounds like you've done your homework.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he's got a collection like you do behind you.
Oh yeah, I got carried away.
we share an affliction there. So,
and that's just the LPs. You should see the 45s in the other room.
Yeah, this is the same.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, there's all these little record labels from the Northwest that were doing primarily country. Sometimes they do forays into psych and garage.
Yep.
But there's sort of a vanity label called Ripcord Records, based in Vancouver, Washington, just over the river from Portland. And they cut just dozens of good, weird country records. And their subsidiary label, Vanco Records. So any collector nerds out there, Ripcord Records and Vanco. And there was some great garage, 60s garage stuff on those labels too. But it's getting harder and harder to find.
Yep. It's interesting because it used to be the really expensive records as a record collector were like from the 50s and doo-wop and rockabilly and all that, and Elvis. But nobody wants those anymore because all the people who knew about it or died off. So it's all the punk stuff and the psych stuff, and moving right along.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, do you know anything about so have you been to New Zealand before, or is this your first time here?
It'll be the first time with this band. I was in New Zealand about 15 years ago with I used to play drums in a band called Pierced Arrows.
Oh yeah.
That was a garage band with together with Fred and Tootie Cole from Dead Moon.
Sure. And
we did a New Zealand tour, I think like 5 or 6 shows back in 2008. And that's the last time I was there, so I'm really looking forward to getting.
And I've never been there. This is my first time in Australia too, so
it's pretty exciting. Yeah, we got a pretty cool Americana country-ish kind of scene here. So, are you familiar with any of the artists or anything like that?
Unfortunately, we're not.
Oh, but we'll get you learned up.
Yeah, we want to. We're hoping, we're hoping people turn us on to some good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and there's a gal that I'm in a sewing group, chain stitching group with, that lives in New Zealand. So she's already written that she's going to come to the show too. So that's really cool.
Chain stitching.
Yeah, because I make my own Western outfits.
Right.
And so I've been on some groups, to learn how to just this collaborative thing of people helping people learn.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. Well, there's one gal in particular you should check out, Tammy Nielsen. So she's Canadian originally, but she moved to New Zealand about 15 years ago. And she just made a record and had Willie Nelson sing on it. So that was pretty cool.
Cool.
And she's got an amazing voice in her most recent. So check her out if you get a chance. Do a little zooming around there and stuff. So you're doing a bunch of shows in Auckland. You're not doing just like one thing. You're gonna be around for a little while. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Over the weekend. Yeah. It would have been longer, but at this point it was just kind of tacked on to the end of the Australian tour.
Right.
What happened was my old pal John Baker, who used to book all the
used to live here with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay,
cool.
Well, he did all the Pierced Arrows and Dead Moon bookings,
and
he just happened to drop me a line, and it's like, oh, you're going to be in the same hemisphere. You got any time at the end of your Australian tour to kind of hop on over? And initially we had planned on having a vacation at the end of this tour, and but I was like, I talked to the guys and I was like,
New Zealand, they were like, oh, that's a lot cooler.
Vacation's over.
Yeah, they're like, playing New Zealand is a lot cooler than anything we were probably gonna putter around doing.
Just turn it into a vacation at the same time.
Working vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very cool.
So we jumped on that opportunity. I mean, and so we're hoping that if this goes well, if people like us or whatever, we can come back and do a more extensive trip.
Sure, that'd be cool.
There's so much more of New Zealand I'd love to see. you know, I've never been to the South Island, so I really would love to go down there at some point and play.
Yep. So your most recent album is Fire on the Ridge, is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. So, and you just said you're kind of recording some singles and stuff. So is there a lot of new stuff? Are you going back and forth? What can we expect from the shows?
The shows, we play kind of a mix of everything off of all the records. You know, at this point, when you've done, you know, we're working on our fourth LP right now, and we've done a handful of singles that have exclusive songs on them. So it's like when you've got that many songs, you have to pare it down to within like a 45-minute or an hour long set. So, you know, we can't just do everything off the new record or whatever. So it's pretty much everything, you know.
Yeah. And some of the, you know, I feel like each album we have has a mix of kind of upbeat songs or mid-tempo or the slower ones. So we tend to try to have a higher energy live set. So we usually do most of the more rockin' songs of each album.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And have you noticed that fans are reacting differently post-COVID and all that? Are they kind of relieved that it's over, happy to be back, or are they cautious, or what?
Yeah, I feel like at first people were a little timid, but that didn't last very long. And now it's just, you know, full steam ahead. People are just rowdy. And I think everybody was cooped up so long now that it's just an explosion of party time.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody this morning. They were at I think a sports event, but it's kind of the same thing. And they were like, I couldn't believe everybody was packed together. It was just like the old days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The Great Reset.
Yeah, exactly.
The music scene.
Yeah.
It's been some strange days, and of course, you got the election going on in the States too. Are you political animals at all?
Yeah, we follow that stuff. I mean, yeah, these are strange times, and there are some really scary tendencies out there, and it's happening all over.
Let's just say we wish that we could move in with you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
got
I mean,
looks like you've got extra space back there.
I think, you know, potentially some really scary times in the States on their way. I don't know. You know, it's not the most optimistic time.
No.
But, you know, I guess it's been building and building and building in the States and so I guess we kind of deserve what we get, you know, in a way.
Yeah. Well,
as long as
I mean, in some respects, that it's happening everywhere. Like even in New Zealand, there's people, you know, kind of wacko, and I don't want to name any whatever, but there is that, and it has grown over the cap. The difference between that in the States is not everybody's armed here. You know, there's just not guns everywhere, and that makes a big difference.
And there's also a lot of mental health crisis too that doesn't go well with people being armed. So there's a lot of just. You can't negotiate with somebody that's having a mental health break and a gun, you know.
But it's scary that, you know, the short-sightedness and the greed and the selfishness that people have. They're just, you know, they just think that, I don't know, their personal fortunes aren't quite as great as they'd like them to be. So it's like, yeah, let's elect a right-wing government that's going to improve the economy. And it's like,
it never works.
You know, and Italy just, you know, Italy's election went rightward. Sweden's election, they just, for the first time in decades, elected a right-wing coalition.
Yep.
You know, it's terrifying. And who knows what's going to happen in
24.
Yeah, when it's like the Democrats have done like not the best job of electing confidence inspiring politicians.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't think Joe Biden's an evil person, but he's not not like someone that people can rally behind necessarily. No. And
you just kind of worried that he's still standing.
That's happening in Portland too. Like the people in, you know, positions that are about to be elected for right now, it's all Democrats, but the city is really feeling like it's falling apart. And so that's not instilling a lot of confidence in the Democratic Party either. Yeah.
And Oregon, you know, Oregon's been a blue state, a Democratic state for decades.
Yeah.
And it's really scary because,
Yeah.
You know, the infrastructure in Portland, in Oregon in general, and the economy, and there's just all these terrible problems. And people are just like, well, okay, let's solve them. Let's elect a Republican or you know, conservative.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's really scary because people are stupid and they're gonna that's their solution. You know, so
I can't argue with you.
I don't know. The election, I believe the deadline is tomorrow for
Right.
the elections, and I'm going to be following that pretty closely.
Yep.
Yeah, we made sure to vote before we hit the road too.
Oh, good. So. Yeah, yeah. We need everybody to do their part. But yeah, it's pretty scary. So yeah, nice to be down here when all that's going on.
Oh my gosh. And then you know, it's also depressing there because it's turning to winter. So it's gloomy and rainy and cold. Yep. It's just like this, you know, doom overshadowing you. And now we're here and it's sunny and warm and everyone's happy. And
yeah, remember that movie On the Beach?
Oh, sure.
The old, you know, where it's like the nuclear war, and the last place to get it is Australia. They're in Australia enjoying themselves while the rest of the world is, you know, is slowly doom heading their way, but they're gonna party until the end, and that's kind of what I feel like.
There you go. Well, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Well, very good. All righty. We got everything sorted. Yeah. At least we're in the right place. So thanks for spending all this time talking to me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you guys are going to be at the Whammy Bar on the 24th. So I'll be there for that one. Definitely.
Oh, great. Yeah, definitely come say hi.
I will do. All righty. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye.